Thanks, Alfie. And having such a wonderful host, I'd like to start off by thanking Alfie for everything that he does and platforming our region and our amazing community. So put your hands together for Alfie as well, please, if you may. So earlier, it felt as if there was a bit of a movie theme. We heard from Star Wars, one of my favorite movies. Irene done a great illustration of the Force being so strong within everyone and how we unleash the Force. And then there was The Matrix. Mark talked about Morpheus and Trinity and such like. And as I was sat there, I was thinking, well, what's my movie? And actually, you'll realize why my movie is Nacho Libre. So it's a Jack Black film. Quick show of hands, anyone seen Nacho Libre? Some people, great. If you haven't, go and see it. It's a fantastic movie. Obviously, it reinvigorates us from a child perspective, but it's really, really interesting and entertaining. So I've been asked to come and talk a little bit about inclusion. And before I jump into that, and before I go on to explain what inclusion means to me, I'd just like, once again, quick show of hands. And the spotlight is so bright up there as well. So, but quick show of hands, who's felt slightly uncomfortable or unwanted ever or unwelcome in any point of their life? At any point of their life. I'd suggest all of us at some point have felt like that. And how many of us have changed who we are, how we dress, how we act, our beliefs, our behaviors, to try and fit in with others? Okay. And it's really, really interesting, right? Because inclusion to me isn't just about addressing some of the challenges that exist. 169 years it'll take, according to the UN, to achieve gender parity. 169 years. And that's despite everything that's going on. In the Northeast, we're categorized as the most deprived, disadvantaged, and all of these statistics. Yet for me, the Northeast is the greatest place in the world. It's filled with the most wonderful people. You, right? I was talking to Rosie earlier on, and Irene came over and said, "Oh, Ammar's a great person," and I disagree with that, But as in, it's and I'll pay you the £20 later on, Irene. The one thing that Irene did say was the community in the Northeast is the most wonderful, unlike anywhere else in the world, and I've been quite fortunate to work internationally and nationally, and nowhere is like the Northeast. So we might be all of those things, we might be those statistics, and 39.6% of statistics are made up on the spot. So take your facts with a pinch of salt and feel how the room is and act. So what am I going to talk about? Well, one of the things that I'm really passionate about, and why am I passionate about inclusion? Yeah, I might have had some challenges growing up, and I don't know if anyone saw Charlotte's amazing interview of me where she interrogated me, but done so in such a discreet, energetic manner that she got me to spill some real insights from my childhood. Things that shaped me, things that I look back on and go, oh, well, do I really wish they didn't happen? Of course they were wrong, but they happened and they shaped me. And it's about courage and conviction, how you use those to learn and try and make the changes and be the change you want to be. So inclusion isn't something that I'm doing because it's woke or it's topical. It's because it's right. It's because we all want to feel a sense of belonging. We all want to be a part of something. We come to the Entrepreneurs Forum because there is no better space or place in the world that supports entrepreneurs. And we all feel part of it. And it doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter what background you are, what your social mobility is. We heard Mark's story about the trials and tribulations that he went through. He's part of this community, and we connect. So we all want to belong. And for years, I've been championing inclusion discreetly by looking at social mobility, creating entrepreneurial activities, encouraging young people. The thing that gets me excited, because Michaela asked me this earlier on in the break, was seeing other people succeed. And we've got wonderful entrepreneurs in this region, so celebrating them. So I came about from an inclusion perspective as to how do we help everyone realize their ambitions and raise their aspirations. So it is a course about gender, a course it's about race, a course it's about sexual orientation. Those things need to be addressed. But it should also be about, doesn't matter where you come from, there's an opportunity for you. So as I started this campaign a couple of years ago to help make the Northeast the most inclusive region in the UK by the end of 2025, and Mark talked about a big goal, a big, hairy, audacious goal. I hope I get there. You know, it's an ambition. It's a really scary ambition, but no big goals are not scary. So I wanted to then explore, how do we do this by bringing people along? How do we have the conversations where, you know, gosh, if you're a white, middle-aged man right now, how uncomfortable is it? Right? People are sort of going, oh, we need to address the board, right? And you're sat there thinking, but I've committed 20-odd years to this organization, and and everyone's saying, it's not about me. How do we make sure we don't marginalize the majority? We have that uncomfortable conversations, because you can never, ever grow unless you're uncomfortable. And we need to sort out all of those disparities that exist, but we need to do it in an and. It should never be an or. So, beginning of this year, I'm hosting a conference around inclusion. How do I start that conference? What's the key message that I want to get across? That isn't just about statistics. It's not just about, you know, facts and figures. It's not about a story about me being abused or getting racially abused or getting chased and all of these things. And I have a 5-year-old vampire, and she keeps me awake at night. But she's beautiful. She's wonderful. And if the force was there, Irene, right? So a couple of nights before the conference, I have written this big speech. And a couple of nights before the conference, I love going and reading a story to Zara, because there's nothing better than storytelling. And I pick up this book, and I'm about to read it. And the book is called The Bear and the Bees, but I had to take a double take, right? Because I'm thinking, why has my 5-year-old got the bird and the bees at 5? And it's like, it's not. So please indulge me, because it was assigned as far as I'm concerned, right? So if you can bear with me whilst I take you through this story. So if you're all sat comfortably, I'm going to tell you a story about the bear and the bees. I might come on later on at the bar about the birds and the bees, but for now, bear with me whilst I share the bear and the bees. So our story begins with your imagination. Now imagine a world full of black and white, yellow creatures that fly above your heads. Bees, yes, but not normal bees. These bees can talk. And not only can they talk, but they also go to school. Now this world may be unique in itself, but the creatures living in it aren't so unique. Actually, they are all exactly the same as each other. And all of these buzzing bees have the same name too. They are all called busy. Every single one of them. Imagine being in school when the teacher takes the register, if all you have the same name. How would you know when it's your name being called out? How confusing would that be? Well, that's what happens to these bees every day. One ordinary Monday, the younger bees were gathered in the playground. Some were buzzing with the latest gossip, while others played hide and buzz. All of a sudden, a big brown, hairy creature strolled into the playground. It was a bear. The bees buzzed loudly and flew here and there in a panic. "Hey guys," the bear spoke softly. "My name is Gruzzle. Don't be afraid. It's my first day here." The bees stared in shock at the bear. "This isn't the right school for you," one bee buzzed crossly. "You're different. You don't have stripes like us, and I bet you can't fly," a second bee argued. "And he's not even called Busy," a third bee joined in. "We don't like people who are different. Go away." Gruzzle's face fell. "Does it matter if I'm different?" he asked. The answer was obviously yes, because the bees flew away into their classrooms, ignoring his question. Giant tears fell from Gruzzle's giant eyes and splashed onto the playground. But one bee had stayed behind, the smallest bee in the whole school. Comforting Gruzzle, the bee spoke. There, I think it's a good idea being different. It's boring when everyone's the same." Gruzzle smiled as the kind little bee gave him an idea. The rest of the day zoomed past. Some of the bees made nasty remarks as Gruzzle walked by and giggled behind his back. But Gruzzle didn't care. He had a plan, a good one too. All he needed was imagination, which he sure had already. The next day, the bees gathered in the playground as normal, but then Gruzzle strolled in. He looked very different from the day before. He had yellow and black stripes painted on him and had wings tied to his back. The crowd went quiet and glanced at one another. Then one young bee piped up. "You look so stupid," he said. "Bears don't have wings," shouted another. "And your stripes look silly." That's a picture. Sorry, I should have been sharing the pictures as well. Everyone laughed. But they soon stopped as Gruzzle started chuckling too. "You laughed at me because I'm different," he said. "But when I look the same as you, you still laugh at me. I am different, and I am happy being a bear. There's nothing wrong with being different." The bees paused for a moment and thought about what Gruzzle had said. Then the smallest bee started cheering and shouted, "Hurrah for Gruzzle! I'd like to be different." A big bee said, "If I'm going to go purple, and I'm going to change my name to Buzzle," another exclaimed. The next morning, the playground was cheerful than it had ever been. All the bees were brightly coloured and were buzzing about, trying to learn the new names they'd each given themselves. Gruzzle looked around and smiled. He thought to himself that it's okay to be unique. It's okay to be you. And that, my dears, is the story. And that, all too often, is what we do. We try and become what other people expect us to be. And it's wonderful because, this fortune definitely favours the brave. And I know we're going to hear from Julia in a minute, and we've got a fantastic panel. But just before that, I would encourage you to consider, what courage do you have? What's your conviction to be who you are, and encourage and invite others to be who they want to be. So, quick Slido question before I hand over. What does inclusion mean to you, please? And I'll hand back to Alfie. Thank you, Alfie.